Hey there, another Not Oprah's Book Club coming at you video style. I'm coming at you on Wednesday because Jessica and I switched days today for a reason I will unveil at the end of this. More reaction than review, because I'm actually going to talk about Jessica's book, The Purity Myth, which I just finished yesterday and thought was totally amazing. But of course I'm going to think it's amazing because we're BFs, right? So I decided it wouldn't be right for me to review it, but I did want to sort of share my reaction to it, which I think is fair. So, self-disclosure, I'm obviously not an objective person on this. In any case, I'm guessing a lot of you have checked it out by now as well, so I hope we'll have a lot in comments in terms of people contributing their own thoughts and reactions. So Jess can get a sense of the ways in which her thoughts have kind of lived on through the book. If you haven't checked it out, essentially Jess is arguing that there is kind of a moral panic over women's virginity that isn't good for anybody. And I wanted to just read a sentence. She says, "It's high time to do away with outdated and dangerous notions of virginity. If young women's only ethical gauge is based on whether they're chaste, we're ensuring that they will continue to define themselves by their sexuality," which I thought was really compelling. So here's the thing that initially blew my mind as I was reading the book, is just the notion that actually virginity doesn't exist, right? That scientifically doctors do not agree on what it is. Clearly I've thought about that a little bit. You hear the stories of, your aunt who fell on the fence and technically lost her virginity then, or your friend who technically, by terms of the hymen, would have lost their virginity on a bike, or whatever the case is, and sort of problematized, what does that all mean? But this was the first time that I really took it in. I really got that in the same way that race doesn't scientifically exist for the most part, that virginity doesn't scientifically exist for the most part. And I felt similar as to when I discovered that about race. I was studying abroad in South Africa and had an instructor who really broke down kind of the science versus the sociological nature of race, and it totally changed my life. And I felt like hearing or reading Jess, I hear her in my head as I'm reading, talk about the fact that virginity doesn't exist was similarly transformative. And so I thought about the trouble with that kind of knowing is, what do you do about it, right? I mean, knowing that race doesn't technically exist doesn't mean you start acting like Stephen Colbert and pretending you're, colorblind. Likewise, we can't act like this societal value on purity isn't affecting girls just because it's bullshit, right? So it's kind of this difficult dichotomy between what you know is true and what the reality of people's lives are, and sort of the social pressures that are created by these myths. So I came up with a few things that we can personally do in reaction to the learning that virginity doesn't exist. The first one is this idea of just stop using the word. Language matters. And so I was thinking, when we talk about the moment we first had sex, especially among younger women, let's just stop saying, "I lost my virginity." Let's make a really deliberate effort to get rid of that word, at least among one another. The second is tell people far and wide about the fact that there's no scientific evidence, or definition, rather, of virginity. I think the more that we spread the word, such as we have done with race to a certain extent, the bigger effect we can all have. And thirdly, get involved in the movement to make sex ed more comprehensive far and wide, which hopefully will include a discussion of this notion of if virginity even exists. Check out RH Reality Check, Shelby Knox's work, and other great blogs that are sort of leading people into these sorts of activism. Feel free to leave places and comments where you also think people should go. And don't miss Jess, who will be on the Today Show tomorrow morning. I think on the third hour. She's actually facing off, or not facing off. Let's not incite a riot here. But she is going to be interviewed by one Miss Kathy Lee Gifford. So I'm very curious to see how it all goes down, and I'll definitely be tuning in and supporting her. Can't wait. Break a leg, Jess, and have a good Wednesday, everybody.